back to another episode of Happiness Matters, the show with me, Beanie Man, and Mo the service dog, who is not in the studio today because sometimes that just happens. I'm here today with my new friend, Gina, human, right?
Yep.
Okay, because I'm like, it's in German would be Heumann.
Right,
so
it is German.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so the American way, human. But she is human. No, anyway. And we actually just met today in person.
Yeah.
We've been connected through Facebook. And anyway, but welcome to the show, Gina. I'm so glad you're here. You came down from Denver to be here to share your story, which I think is really important to hear because you're not the first person I know with a son that has that issue.
Okay.
You know, so I know there's others out there, and like Lisa Nichols tells us, our story, blah 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 blah. Our story is not ours to keep, because we never know who our story might help and impact. So I'm really glad you're here. I'm glad you're willing to share your story. And won't you go ahead? Tell us about your son and what's.
Okay. So my husband and I adopted 2 boys from Guatemala many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
My second child was neglected by his foster mom before we got him, and he was only 6 months when he came home.
Aww.
So we thought, you know, whatever happened before he
what
came
damage
to
could
us,
be done,
yeah,
right?
we could just love it out of him, right?
Right.
As I've learned over the years, early childhood trauma can have a lasting impact on the whole rest of his life.
Can. Mm-hmm.
And he screamed the entire 5-hour flight home from Guatemala. He, at that point, I decided that 2 was enough.
Yes.
And then things just never got easier. He didn't sleep through the night until he was 11. Years, not months. And he was up multiple times a night. He was angry. He was irritable. And things we didn't notice back then were he didn't really make eye contact with people. And we didn't really notice it until years later when we started looking back at pictures and we're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, that 20/20 hindsight thing?
Yeah, and he didn't really play on the floor by himself, like pushing a train. Like, unless somebody was entertaining him, he basically just kind of sat and stared into space.
Oh, wow.
So, there were signs, we just didn't know what to look for back then.
Right. And when you don't know what the real issue is, you just don't know.
Right. And then his tantrums were so much more fierce and powerful than any kid I'd ever seen. And sometimes lasted 3 or 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
So it just never seemed to get easier. And as he got older, he started, you know, throwing things and trashing his room and kicking holes in the walls and throwing, you know, the remote through the TV screen. And
oh, wow.
we went through a lot of destroyed property over the years.
Yeah.
And the whole time trying to figure out what the heck was going on with him. So started out, you know, just begging my pediatrician to give us a referral because the type of insurance we had didn't allow us to just go anywhere. We had to get a referral. And I kept asking, and she kept saying, oh, no, it's terrible 2s. Oh, you know, sometimes those terrible 2s extend into the 3s. You know what? Sometimes they go into the 4s. I was like, no.
So, real quick, guys, you know, if you have something, and doctors do that with pretty much anything, listen to your gut. If your gut is telling you, no, there is more, push. Keep pushing, because if you're not pushing, especially for your kids, nobody will.
Right.
Keep pushing. Keep pushing.
And I just kept pushing and pushing. Every 6 months I'd go in and I'd say, okay, you need to give me a referral because I already have one kid. He never did any of this stuff, so it's not like this is my first rodeo.
Right.
And if I was that terrible a mother, then this one would be awful too. So
exactly. Right.
So, and my first kid, my friends used to call him the Stepford child. He was easy, he was well behaved, he would say please and thank you and may I please be excused after he was done eating. Like, my friends were like, oh my God, how'd you do that? And I was like, oh, I'm so good at this parenting thing.
I know, right?
And then the universe put me in my place on kid number 2. So.
I was like, this was for practice. You know, make sure you're okay with the parenting thing. But here's a kid that really needs you.
Right. So years and years, we just pushed and pushed and pushed. We finally got in to see a child psychiatrist. He was about 3.5. He was in the room. They had toys, and they weren't holding his attention. So he was, playing with something. Then he'd play with something else, and then he'd play with something else, and then he'd rip pages out of this book, and And the guy said, "Oh well, clearly he has ADD. Here's some medicine. See you later." 5 minutes.
Wow.
And then that medicine didn't work because he didn't actually have ADD.
Well, that's a shocker.
He didn't actually have ADD, and then the next day the next medicine didn't get any better, and then it didn't get any better, and then they eventually added another diagnosis, and then they changed it, and then they thought he was bipolar, and they thought he had ODD, and it just, they pulled out so many different diagnoses over the years that we weren't all that trusting in the medical profession. In the meantime, every time I get sick of giving my kid medication, I would stop and try some alternative therapy. So we tried neurofeedback, we tried...
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I don't know if you guys can hear this, but Mo is howling upstairs.
Poor baby. So, we tried neurofeedback, we tried a homeopathy, we tried giving him natural medications and essential oils and all kinds of things, and he just, nothing ever worked. And then we'd go back to therapy, and then we'd go back to a psychiatrist, and we'd try again. And so this went on for about 10 years. And we say rock bottom hit in middle school as soon as puberty started hitting.
Puberty?
Yeah.
That's a new button. Did you watch that movie Inside Out? That
yes.
Cartoon? At the end, I was like, when they get the new board, and it's like, ooh, look, a new button. What is it? Puberty. I'm sorry.
Yes, have they come out with a second movie yet?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's where they're pushing that button a lot. Yeah. I don't know, I haven't seen it.
So yeah, that's when all hell broke loose. And then his behaviors, which were terrible when he was home with us, and usually with the reactive attachment disorder, which is his diagnosis, the primary caregiver is usually the target, but it's the people that are closest to him that he lashes out at.
Because it's a safe spot.
Right. So usually all of his bad behavior was reserved for home or when he was with us, and at school he was okay. About 5th grade, that stopped happening. Now it was bad at school and at home. Okay. And now the school's calling me every single day saying, you need to come get him. He had such bad anxiety that he could make himself throw up if there was a test or if there was something he didn't want to be there for. And he would do it every day because he didn't want to be at school.
Poor thing.
He was getting bullied. And meanwhile, the school's calling me, and I'm losing jobs left and right because I have to drop everything and go get him. And he finally went to middle school, got kicked out. And then we found a therapeutic school environment, which was really amazing, but it still wasn't the answer to all of our prayers.
Because you still didn't know what was going on.
Right, and still we had this transition period, and transitions were the worst.
Right.
The beginning of the school year and the end of the school year. And I say this on the first day of school today, and I think he's doing pretty well. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, but usually the beginning of the school year, end of school year, that's when my anxiety spikes now because I'm expecting something to happen. But now he's doing great.
Because I do law of attraction stuff, expect nothing to happen.
Right. Well, now I'm there now.
Good. Yeah, expect that it will be okay.
But for so many years, we lived in that horrifying place. So he just, so he got to the new school. It was the day of the bubble testing, the state-sponsored tests that they have to take. I should, again, hindsight 2020, I should have opted him out. He was already in a transition. This wasn't going to go well. And I didn't. So he actually made it through the first... Well, what happened was this teacher came in with a cart full of iPads. And he saw the iPads and his eyes light up because he's all about screens and video games. And he's like, oh, I get to play with an iPad. And she said, yeah, I thought I'd let you guys play with the iPads while when your test is over. And then she read the instructions and she said, oh, no, I can't do that. So he did not do well with changing rules.
Right.
So that was the first tip off of his anxiety, and somehow he made it through the first test, and they said he had to sit quietly or draw a picture, and that was it, or take a nap. And so he made it through that. He got to the second test, and at the end of the second test he raised his hand and he said, I need to go sit in the hallway. I just can't do this. And so they let him sit in the hallway. He ended up sitting at the police officer's desk with permission. The police officer then left, and nobody knew he had permission to sit there. So
Oh man.
when a teacher came and told him to get out of the police officer's chair, things went bad. He ended up kicking a teacher. The police came down. They put him in handcuffs. They sent him to the juvenile assessment center. And
Wow.
they kept him for 6 hours. And that was the scariest day of my life because I said, why do you need my underage child without me? I want to be there. And they said, oh no, we need to figure out what's going on at home. And
Oh snap.
yeah, so that's the day I thought
I mean, it's oh snap, but on the second, thing, it's kind of good that they do that because there's a lot of times
Right.
where there's really issues at home.
But he was known to lie and cheat and steal back then, so I didn't know what he was going to say to these people.
Right.
And I seriously thought I'd lose both my kids that day.
Wow. Well, I can't even imagine.
As it turns out, he didn't. He didn't lie. He told the truth, and they said, we think he has reactive attachment disorder. This is not the first time we'd been diagnosed.
So they actually figured that out at the police station? That's where they...
Well, juvenile assessment center.
Right, but that...
Yeah.
Wow. Hey guys, maybe instead of going to the... No, I'm just, bad joke. Bad joke.
Yeah, so then they tried to give me a list of therapists, and I thought, okay, do you know how many therapists we've been to? We did this type of therapy and that type of therapy, group therapy, individual therapy, parenting classes.
More therapy out.
Yeah, we were so done with therapy and none of it worked. So
Right.
I was so down on therapy. And she said, well, I'm sorry, that's all I can do is give you this list of therapists. And I started getting angry, and I'm like, you don't know what I've been through all these years. I'm not the most calm person at that point.
No, but I mean, this is super stressful. I mean, all around. I mean, you've had this whole stress all these years with all of that building up.
Right.
And now yet another thing, and with the possibility you might lose your kids. I can't even imagine.
Yeah. So as I'm getting riled up in the juvenile assessment center, a young girl peeks her head around the corner and she says, "Excuse me, I have an idea." I said, "Okay, I'll take anything." And she said, "Yeah, my friend's doing an internship up in Evergreen with a guy that's a specialist in RAD." And I said, "Okay, give me his number." She said, "Okay, let me text my friend." And she came back and she had the information. And
Nice.
I called this guy on the way home. I left a message. Next day he called. We talked for an hour and a half. He knew everything about what we'd been through. It was as if he'd been in our house.
A real expert.
A real expert.
Wow.
And now this is the part where the universe comes in, because he said, "Well, I have this 2-week therapy program," he said, "but it's normally a 6 to 9 month waiting period to get in to see me. However, I had a family drop out 2 weeks from now."
I have chills. Oh my gosh. There's no coincidence. There are no coincidences.
So it was meant to be. And
absolutely.
I said, "I don't care what it takes. I'm going to get the money together," because of course it's not covered by insurance.
Well, of course.
And it's a lot of money.
Because heaven forbid they cover anything that's actually useful.
Yeah, that's my mission in life right now, is to get better mental health coverage for
Right.
kids.
I like that.
Yeah, it's because it's really bad, and it's so hard to just get in to see anybody.
Yep.
I think they need more
Because it can't be
therapists.
fixed by a pill.
No, it can't. So we did a 2-week family intensive program with him, the entire family. It was like 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, all 4 of us with 4 therapists. So it was really intense. Sometimes it was just me and my husband talking with 2 of the therapists, and the kids were doing like art therapy and word associations and things like that. Other times all 4 of us were together. And so there were a couple like really unique things that he did. Number one, like the first week was mostly traditional therapy, but just getting to know us and trying to figure out
Right.
exactly what the issues were. second week was all about attachment. So the second week, there was one day where we were sitting on a couch and we had to hold him like he's a baby. Now he's a rather large 12-year-old at this point. So we're holding him like a baby, and I call it the flip chart therapy because he had this like flip chart, like if you were going to give a presentation and you wanted to take notes on a big sheet of paper, that's what he had. So he directed everything at Maddox, my son, and he said, Maddox, let's talk about what babies need. Think about what babies need. And so we came up with, well, they need their diapers changed, and they need milk, and they need a place to sleep, and they need this, and they need that. So after we finished that first sheet, he flips to the next page, and he says, now let's talk about how babies and their caregivers bond. And so then we talked about eye contact and tone of voice and cuddling and snuggling and kisses and hugs and reading to them and things like that. And so then we went back and talked about his birth mom. And now this is Guatemala. She was in a very remote area of Guatemala that's known for malnutrition.
Okay.
So we figured he may not have gotten the right nutrients to have proper brain development. And in addition to that, she was 17. This was her second kid.
Oh, wow.
She was probably ridiculously stressed out. And all those stress hormones go right into the womb.
Yes, they
do.
So
the doctor explained to him, look, you were set up for anxiety from the beginning. This is not your fault. And then we talked about him going into foster care when he was about 2 days old. And he said, and then you see this list we just made? He said, the stuff on the first page, he said, she did all of that, I guess. She kept you alive. Technically, she did her job. But then if we go to the second page, she didn't do any of that. Not your fault. Not your fault. And they really stressed.
Not your fault.
It was not, he said, any baby could have come into that house and been treated the same way. It wasn't anything you did. It wasn't you being a bad baby or you're not a terrible person. And they had to really make sure he understood that. And then towards the end of this therapy, he says, well, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to leave you guys alone, and the three of you, I just want you to sit here and be there for each other. Don't talk about this, no lectures, no, discussion of what we talked about. He said, just sit here and just be there for each other. And when you're ready, we'll be in the hallway. And I kind of glanced over at my husband, and I thought, okay, I'm ready.
Weird.
I don't know what we're going to be doing in here, but okay. And as soon as that door closed, my son started crying like I had never seen him cry before. 20 minutes straight, just this huge release of emotion. And towards the end, he started giving us eye contact. He started reaching for us. He started wanting hugs from us, and I still cry when I tell this story.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
And I always say that's the turning point. And then he did some other therapies that week, which were really cool as well. But after that, I still said it didn't work because he was still having these raging tantrums. But what we didn't notice, because we live with him every day, we didn't notice they were getting fewer and further between and less intense.
That's huge.
It was about 6 months later we went home to visit my family in Phoenix for Christmas, and they commented on it. They said, he's so calm now. He's so different. And I thought, he is? Because he's still kind of trashing his room every once in a while. And at that point, my husband and I had a conversation. We're like, I think it's actually, something's working. So between the school...
But I think it took you to realize a while because it has been such a constant.
Right.
And you're like, can it really be?
Right.
That kind of second guessing is like, can it really be? So you're not really looking for it because it is so subtle. I mean, it's like we don't see our hair grow.
Right.
It's the same thing, but eventually we know we need a haircut.
Right.
And I think we can compare that to that.
Or have you heard the frog in the boiling water story? So when you put a frog in water...
I'm thinking frog legs and they're yummy.
When you put a frog in water and you turn on the heat, they don't notice because it gradually heats up until they're dead. So I said, I felt like we were the frog in the boiling water for so many years that we didn't realize all of what we were going through until we finally got out.
And sometimes somebody from the outside actually has to point out to us the obvious.
Yeah.
Because we can't see it because we have been so in the midst of it.
Right.
And I have that people point things out to me and I'm like, ew. So yeah.
Yeah, so at that
Absolutely.
point we started to realize that he was getting better. And then, you know, another 6 months I think went by and my husband said, when was the last time he broke something on purpose? And I was like, shh, don't say it.
Don't jinx it. What's wrong with you?
and it turns out we couldn't remember. And at that point we were like, oh my God, he is getting better. And then he was looking into high school. This was the end of 8th grade when we finally realized that he was getting better. And he was trying to decide where to go to high school. Well, his therapeutic middle school also had a high school that was attached.
Oh, very nice.
I just thought, we'll just smoothly transition him right over to the high school side. And he wanted no part of that. He wanted to be in the marching band. He wanted to go to a regular high school.
Good for him.
And he went and shadowed at both schools. As soon as I picked him up at the school he's at now, he said, "This is my school. This is where I'm going."
Good for
and
him.
I panicked.
And how powerful! How empowering for him to be able to say, "No, I do not want to go to this school. I want to do a regular school." And for you to, you know, have the, for lack of a better word, the guts to say yes. You know, and trust that it will work out, and then for him to choose the school, like that's huge. That's
Right.
very empowering for him.
Well, and I kept thinking, well, if it doesn't work, we can always get on a waiting list and get back into the other school. But, you know, they kept warning us. They're like, well, you know, there is a wait list, so if you leave, it's going to be hard to come back. And we're like, okay.
We're not coming back.
Yeah, but the therapist thought he was ready.
That's awesome.
Started to think he was ready. My older son was at that school, and he had a huge posse of friends, and I remember the day he made the decision.
So they're at the same school then?
Mm-hmm. Well, not anymore, but
yeah.
But he came out, I came home from the shadow day, and all my older son's friends were over, and I said, you guys, he wants to go to your school. I don't know what I'm going to do. And they said, oh, Mrs. H, we got him. We got him. He's got like 6 big brothers. We're all going to take care of him. It'll be fine. And that makes me cry too. They're just, he and my son has some good friends.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it just, he went to high school. There was never an issue. I got 0 calls from the school. His grades could be a little better, but they were pretty good. I mean, he passed most of everything. So, and he got
That's
A's
huge.
in band.
I mean, that's huge.
He auditioned and he made it into the higher level band, the jazz band. He's in the brass choir. He's in the pep band. He loves the whole music thing. So, and I think music's very therapeutic.
Music is amazing. Music helped my kids a lot, especially my younger son.
Well, and my son plays the tuba. So
my younger son is all about the tuba.
Oh, very cool.
He came home one day, he says, I'm not doing the French horn anymore. I said, oh, so what are you doing now? He goes, tuba. Really? I had a Volkswagen EOS convertible at the time. I looked at him, I said, really? It's not going to fit in the trunk. The only way we could get it in is with the top down, putting it in the back seat. But that is awesome.
It is a rather large instrument. And then he plays the bass trombone in the jazz band. So
that's what my son did too, in the jazz band.
Yeah, and what I keep saying is, I played the flute. I only had to get air from here to here.
I know.
My son has the tuba. He has to get air through all those tubes.
Yeah, I'm amazed. I'm like, and then they're marching with it.
Yes.
You know, because my son did exactly all of that too.
Yep.
So.
And I think it's been great for him. And now he's got a group of friends, and he had a girlfriend for a while, and like he's like a normal kid now.
That's awesome.
He's 15, so he's still kind of annoying, but he's normal annoying.
He's a teen-nagger.
Yeah.
I call them teen-naggers.
Nice.
But that is awesome. Yeah. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
But I mean, it's like, so I'm super happy that he went through all that. But now it's like I cannot imagine that it went past you. I mean, that you just, it's like, oh, I'm the mom, you know, everything is well. I'm sure you had to deal, you know, and have to work through some things, you know, dealing with that whole, because that is stressful. That's like almost combat.
Yeah.
You know,
I was actually diagnosed with secondary PTSD. And went through some awesome therapy at the beginning of the summer that I think I'm good now. So I feel like a huge weight has been lifted, and now we're just trying to spread our story and help other families who have read. It's not always a very good outcome.
No.
The shooter at Parkland High School, was diagnosed with the same disorder. So that's kind of where we thought he was headed, and thank God we are not there anymore. So.
Well, and thank God for him that he has parents that care for him so deeply and said, not toss him aside, like, because I know that happens a lot of times, especially when the kid is adopted and then there's issues and you just can't, this is not what we signed up for, this is not what we expected, and they get pushed away again. But good for him to have you and to not give up on him and everything. And usually I don't, and it's not business pitch, but you wrote a book and I want to share that book. Because I think for anybody of you out there who's going through trauma with a child that they adopted or not adopted, but I mean some kids that are not adopted, you can go through issues,
right.
And get her book, because I haven't read it because I just found out. But I'm sure there's tips in there on how to deal with, how to cope. So what's your book called?
It's called Love Never Quits. It is our true story of going through this journey and coming out the other end in a good place. But there are so many families that, and it's not just adoption.
No, it's across.
Reactive attachment disorder is from some sort of childhood trauma at a very young age, before the age of 3, either abuse, neglect, or
all of the above.
All of the above, yeah. And it's very hard to overcome, and there's different symptoms in different
and
kids.
Clearly it's very hard to diagnose.
It is.
But the key really is if you feel there's something wrong with your kid other than what the doctors are trying to tell you, okay, keep pushing.
Yeah.
Keep pushing for answers. It's like if you're not satisfied with that one diagnosis, see another person and another person and another person. Or go to the no, don't go there. No, you don't want to go there.
I don't recommend that.
No,
that was very scary.
But I mean, in a way, I think it would be very beneficial to talk to the therapists that are actually in those facilities. To it's like, hey, this is what's going on. I think maybe that's something to advocate for. Because there's so many problems, and I think the problems are growing. In our society here, that they work together with the doctors, or that there's that they start a forum where parents they're all wondering about what's going on with my kid, that they can just ask these questions and these experts can tell them, it's like, hey, this is what we think it is.
Right.
Just from what you're telling us. I think that might be a really good idea. So
we also need better post-adoption training. I'm working with an agency here in town that's doing a whole series of videos and podcasts, and just trying to get some of the information out there to help prospective foster parents or new adoptive parents so that they know what to expect. That would have been really helpful for me.
Right. Well, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I have friends that adopted kids from Russia and China and other places, and you don't know. I mean, you really don't know what you get.
Right.
You don't know. All you can do is love the kid no matter what, because you made a commitment to the child when you said, yes, I want to adopt him, I want to adopt a child. I think you made the commitment, and it's not fair to the kid just because it doesn't turn out the way you painted your picture and what you wanted, to toss that kid aside again, because I mean, what message is that sending? And it's just adding to the problem. It's like I always tell people, it's like don't add to the problem, become part of the solution. And I think that is a really good way to start. It's like if you decide to adopt, be aware that you might get what you get what you get.
Well, that's true if you have a baby too.
Exactly.
You get what you get. There's family genes, and
Right.
My family wasn't all 100% perfect either. So
You know what?
nobody's is.
And those of you who read my book and know my story, they know, same here.
Yeah.
You don't know, but it's like if you make a commitment to adopt a child, or you make a commitment to a child, stick to your commitment.
Right.
Stick to that commitment no matter what, because it's not about you at that point anymore. It was about you. Yes, you want a kid. That's about you. But once you make that commitment for that kid, now it becomes about that kid. And how can you help that kid to live the best life that they can and overcome, what they need to overcome and find solutions and all of that. That's my opinion. And I'm sticking to it.
I agree for the most part. I do know there are some families with rad kids that
Right.
just could not.
No, and I get that, and I know a family too.
It was hurting the rest of the family,
Right.
and like they had to do it to keep them safe.
Right. I mean, but the thing is like, I know we're such a instant gratification and throwaway society.
Oh yeah.
We're not so much looking anymore to fixing things. It's like, oh, it's broken, we toss it aside.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if it's people, if it's things, if it's whatever. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, explore and exhaust all your options. And if you in a good conscience can say, we have tried everything in our power, but we have to put our safety and the rest of our family's safety first. I get that.
Mhm.
I totally get that. And you need to do that. Then you need to find another place for that child.
Right.
I get that. But not go and it's like, well, I just can't deal with it anymore and poof, done.
Right.
It's like explore everything that you can
Mhm.
and work through that. So, but it's like, wow. Good for you. Good for him. Good for
Yeah.
him. And it's like, how exciting that they figured it out and, there is treatment out there, clearly.
Mhm.
You just have to find the right people. Do your research,
Yeah.
vet them.
Oh, and I just want to throw this out there because people might be wondering, how does your kid feel about you writing a book about him?
Oh yeah, there's that.
I've actually gotten some trolls on the internet that have
Plaster
been
my
like,
story
you
all
have
over
no
them."
right to tell this story. And my whole family is on board. We
Okay.
had many discussions around the dinner table, and my son is actually speaking with me now. So
That is
we're
so
doing
awesome.
workshops together. He is happy to share his story because that's not him anymore.
Right.
He's in a different place now. So he's happy to go back and say, here's
Oh.
how I was feeling.
I have
And
chills again. It's like, oh. No, it makes my heart sing. I think this is so incredible, and it really shows how far he has come. And yes, you can overcome.
yeah.
You can overcome, and that's proof right there. And for him to embrace, the book, and it's like, yes, let's spread this. That is.
So I'm really proud of him. He's
You
doing
should
amazing.
be. Like, I don't know. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of all of you. I mean, this is amazing.
Thank you.
This is fabulous, and wow. So, but thank you so much for coming and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
And I will put all your contact information at the end
Okay.
in the credits, So if you want to contact her, you want to book her or whatever, want to get the book, I put all the information in there.
Okay.
Your book is available at Amazon,
Amazon or
Barnes
through
and
me.
Noble on.
Yep. Tattered cover.
Okay.
So.
Okay, cool. So I will put all the information out there, and no, you're not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone. There's others out there that have gone through or are going through what you're going through. There's options. There's always options.
Yeah.
They may not be what we want right now and what we need right now, but there's always options. So, thank you all so much again for watching, and be happy, be kind, be love. Talk to you next time. Bye.